Hello, good morning all, and a happy Labor Day to you. As you guys see, I do have a Labor Day sale going on right now, and if you're interested, go check it out at cjandtrade.com, and you just click out of that if you need to. I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit more about TrendSpider. I did a full review of their software, really in depth, as my last blog post, so definitely check it out. There's also the video that I shot with them earlier, and you can see the trend analysis, the candlesticks, everything like that. And I actually wanted to do the analysis of the indexes on TrendSpider as well, which is having a 2-week free trial, and the link is down below, so check that out. So here is Apple, but let's go ahead and go to the indexes, right? So we've got the SPY, and what I really love about TrendSpider is you have this multiple time frame analysis button. So right now I have the 5-minute chart, which we're looking at right now, and then the daily, which is below, that's all the dashed lines. So let me go ahead and just hide these indicators. So you can see really that it's gone. It tested pretty much the 8 EMA back here on the 27th, went down a little bit, then once it broke above, now that 8 EMA is acting as support. So when we go ahead and we back this out, we'll put it on the daily, and it will automatically convert to the weekly. So we can see, all right, these are the daily trend lines right here, right? And the weekly trend lines are going to be anything that's dashed, like right here. This is a weekly trend line. So look at that. Is it no wonder that it actually closed right on that weekly trend line, right? 292.45. And we've got this. This is a, let's see, which one is this? This is the 50 simple moving average on the daily. So it went ahead, it tested the 50, and it pulled back. Now, we are above, you can see these dotted lines right here. If you guys know Brian Shannon at all at Alpha Trends, it's really cool. He developed this anchored VWAP. So you can do that on the close of each business day. And many times you'll see, okay, so here we have the VWAP from the high back on July 26th, and it tested it somewhat as resistance right here, and now it's turned to be support. I also did it from the low after that, the lowest point to see. So it is still up above, so that tends to be a fairly bullish indication. You know, if it were to break down below this, then it's going to be more bearish, right? And so we also have the weekly VWAP, which is so cool here, that is also drawn with the dashed lines, and you can see everything is sort of coming together, but it's flattened out. It hasn't gone up or down. And when you look at it right here, we're sort of in this consolidation period, right? So we bounced off of this trend line, and we've gone up and we've tested this upper trend line here. Now, before that, we've hit the 50 simple moving average. So if we could break above this, next test potentially this trend line right here, and then on up here. Let's go ahead and look at NASDAQ as well. So we've got NASDAQ, right? So we've got the trend lines. That was one that I drew myself, but you can add them, you can double click on them to make them, you know, more present. So again, we have this weekly trend line right here. Same scenario is we've gone ahead and we've stopped right at that trend line. We hit the 50, came back and stopped at that trend line for the week. Now on the weekly, we are above the 8 EMA and the 4 EMA as well. And I'll show you what's really cool. So we have this right here. If I wanted to draw that anchored VWAP, create the Alpha Trends anchored VWAP right here, it does it automatically, but I like to actually look at it and make it a thicker line. So let's go ahead and make that thicker right here, apply. And now it's a thicker line, and you can see that weekly. So I would be looking at that to hold as support going forward. And then we've got the high up here. So oops, it registered as it's trying to go on the ray. Let's see. Well, let me draw it there. Interesting. There we go. I just had to zoom in. It kept reaching. So again, it drew it, but it's a blue, very thin blue line, too small for me. So I'll go here. I like to have the upper one as purple. Don't ask me why, that's just how I do it. purple and blue. So we've got the alpha trends up above. So same scenario, it looks almost like the SPY chart. Now when we get into IWM, back it out a little bit to see the bigger picture. Now overall, when we look at this, right, it came up, but it's somewhat in a downward trend, right? We've had this downward trend right here, and we are below all of the averages. So we've got the 8 EMA right here, and we do have the 4 EMA on the daily crossing above the 8, which can sometimes be a fairly bullish indicator. So putting this on watch. Not to mention, look down here, we have the MACD where it crossed right here. We had that convergence. And you can see the weekly MACD down here as well, but it's flattened out. It hasn't made it in that upward motion and that swing yet. So just to give you guys a little snippet of TrendSpider. It's really awesome software, and actually we'll be doing a webinar with them coming September 11th at 11 o'clock. So I'll post that link up too on the blog post that I created as well. So let's go ahead and go back to TradingView for the watch list for the week. So as always, guys, please do your due diligence. Remember that in trading, there are risks. There's no guarantees. And please do trade with proper risk management. So to start off the potential longs, we have Brown and Brown, and I have it on the 15-minute chart right here. So for support of 36.70 and resistance of 37.02, you can see it had a great 2 days, Thursday, Friday, ended strong on Friday as well, and we're at the 52-week high. So potential for that to continue up. It does have 234 million in the float, and it was 40% short float volume on Friday. So here is the yearly chart, which you can see we're breaking out, right? We've created that cup and handle. And look, last time we had that happen, it was at 31.40, so it's gone up 20% since the breakout back in April. So that one is on watch. Then we have Luna. We'll pull it back to the 15-minute chart as well. Luna, it's also at the 52-week high area. It ended up not high at the high of the day, but it did close above all of the averages pretty much for the day on the 15-minute chart. So I look for support at 632 and resistance at 648, 650 area. And when you look at it, you can see it has, it bounced off of the 8 EMA right here, and it continued up and it set a new high. We don't have descending volume, so it looks like it might continue with that potential upward movement as it's just been trending up overall. Now, Luna does have 24.7 million in the float, and it was 45% short float volume. If you guys are watching and you have questions, just put them up in the chat. I do have it up as well so that I can help answer questions, or if you want to look at anything in particular. Next potential long is LCI. So you can see here we have a double top, right, that's set up. We went to 1041. The 52-week high was 1045. Now, this one is lower float as well, with 31 million in the float. It was 52% short float volume on Friday. So we had pretty much like a consolidation day on Wednesday, Thursday up day, Friday up day, closing strong at the end of the day. And I would look at support of 995 and 1045 for resistance. Again, we have it on the yearly chart there. And then the 5-year chart, you can see that we do have this gap fill to up to 1182 if we do break out from the 1050 area. Because look, it tested once. This is now the second test. We just had earnings as well. So looking for that to potentially create that gap fill. Actually, I would look for the low here of 1190. Next potential long is JKS. We'll pull it back to our 15-minute chart. So again, look at this nice upward trend, right? We've got that upward trend. It did have a bit of a sell-off on Friday, and it rebounded right on up. Closed fairly strong on the day as well. 2155 and for support, and 2209 for resistance. It does have 39.1 million in the float and 42% short float volume on Friday. Again, we are not at the high of the year back here, but look, we've broken this downward trend, the 50 simple moving average. All the averages are curling up at the moment. So next resistance potentially 2250, and then on up to 23, and then potentially up to $24. Maybe potentially $23.50 in there as well. So keep that one on watch. And the last potential long we have MSGN. So MSGN, you can see, look at that, earnings dropped, seems to have found support down here at 1369 or 1373. And then on Friday, massive move, right? So looking for support at 1610, resistance at 1648. On the yearly, same scenario. We had everything curling down. And then on Friday, we're right there, if you look at it, at the 21 EMA. Now, to me, the 21 EMA really is going to signify a really big trend change, right? So if you watch it back here, right, it broke down, and look, it broke and it followed that 21 down that hill, right? And now we are testing right there. So that might be potential entry for longer term swing to the upside, or it might have a bit more sell-off down, back down to the averages down here where it was trading. So keep that one on watch for sure. 59 million in the float and 43% short float volume. Potential short list, we've got ULTA, OCTA, with a support of 122.29. You can see it bottomed here and it bounced, and bottomed here and it bounced. We had buying wicks. Let me just move it up just a little bit so you guys can see that more easily. So we had the buying wicks right here and right here. So looking for it really to break down below, I'd say 122 really, and then resistance of 128.13. Looking at it on the yearly chart, it looks like it's just starting to curl over, right? Now, will it continue? We've got another potential target down here, 119.44. If it can break that, I think we were going to be potentially going further down to the 115, 114 area. Next potential short is Once Spark Therapeutics. So big range, right? 96.99, the bottom of the wick down here where they were buying, and 99.97 where the selling seems to have created a resistance point right here. When we look at it on the yearly chart, look at that. We have this massive gap fill to the downside, all the way down to 52. So keeping this one on watch, right? They've got a test once, twice, 3 times. This is the 4th time. Now, is this going to hold up? We do have a bit more volume down here. We had earnings right here. It pulled back from earnings. You can see it's really riding this 50 SMA, and all the averages are slowly curling down. So potential swing to the downside on this one if, you know, look, it gapped up and now it's just been trending downward since then. So keeping that one on watch. Once does have 34.57 million in the float, so it is lower float, might be harder to borrow. However, it does have enough in the float where you could trade options on it. Not sure about the liquidity or the spread on the options, but the minimum to be able to be optionable is 7 million shares for the float of a stock. So if anything is below that, you're only going to be able to trade the stock in itself. So ULTA had earnings announced after hours on Thursday, massive drop down. Friday, a bit more of continuation. We might have second day continuation, bigger sellers. Anytime that you see that a stock has really dropped to more than 20% off the high of the year, you're going to start to see the institutions that are not allowed to hold it when it drops down below that 80% valuation of the stock for the year, and they just are told, okay, hey, you've just got to liquidate this, it's hit our threshold, you've got to get it out of the portfolios. So that might be happening come Tuesday, tomorrow. We shall see. It looks like with the commodity channel index here, we might have a bit of a bounce up because it is so low. It's down at negative 219. Pretty much anytime you get below negative 100, it's almost like the RSI indicator that will sometimes create that snap back initially. Doesn't mean that it's going to reverse the trend. It's just a potential indication that there might be some buying coming in to sort of equalize it, bring it back to that midline, somewhat like a bell curve, and then it would go back to the midline or the VWAP area and then come on back down. So potential support for ULTA 235.56 and 241.75 for resistance. Next one to the downside, potentially Workday, another one that had earnings that was announced. Massive sell-off again on Friday. and it came down, found support around 173.30, 173.40, and then it bounced up to the 178 area. So it had a nice $5 range to the upside there. So we'll watch it on Tuesday and see what happens. I forgot to tell you, ULTA is 55.9 million in the float, and Workday is 160 million. So let's look at Workday on the yearly. You can see right here, it filled this gap, it came in, it tested that gap and bounced, right? So we shall see. It's below the 200 simple moving average here that broke down on Friday, and we do see that the 50 simple moving average is coming down and curling down as well, and all the averages crossed over the 200 simple moving average, where that had acted as support before. It tested it once, twice. The third time, look at that, it broke on through. So looking to see the potential move there for Workday as well. And then AFYA, look at this, insane, right? They had their IPO back in July 19th. They went from the high of the year to the low of the year. Massive selling. Now this one does have 24 million in the float. Wide range there because there was big movement on Friday. With the lower float stocks, that will happen as well. As quickly as that little train will chug and run up the mountain, it can drop very quickly. As they like to say, the stairs up, the elevator down. So support of 2180 and resistance of 2406 potentially for AFYA. And then two potential longer term swings. UXIN. So you can see UXIN seems to have found a bottom down here around 1.85, and then it seemed to found another support level 207, and it's just slowly curling up here, you know. So this might have a nice potential move, especially when it breaks the high over here of 275, right? 280, 280. So if we can see this close above 280, I think it's going to be continuing to swing on up just on technical analysis alone, not on fundamentals of value behind it. So just keeping it on watch for the stock chart. You know, it's found that nice movement and curling up right there. So next potential long for longer term, MFGP. So this one, nice. You guys know me by now. I like to watch those gap fills. So we've got that right here, right? We had massive selling, and then second day it's coming up. So this has a high of 14.18. I'm just going to go ahead and set, hey, let me go ahead and set an alert. Crossing up 14, let's say 25. Because that is going to, and then I'll put a little note, gap fill to, what's the low here? The low of 1880. 80 potentially. So it's got a nice $4.55 move potentially for that gap fill. There we go, all set up. So now if that happens to go ahead and trigger, and let's go to it. I like to also have that so that it notifies me on the app right on my phone, and I can go forward. All right, guys, that is my watch list analysis for this week. Definitely go ahead and check out TrendSpider. Amazing, amazing software, and why not try it free for 2 weeks? The link is down below. If you guys have wanted to try my watch list for daily watch list, it's 30% off through the 5th of September. And as always, carpe profit, seize those profits one trade at a time. Have a great week ahead. Bye.